Chinese aren't used to shopping with credit cards. Find out the truth at Market to Watch, building brands beyond Tier 1 in China on September 5th in Shanghai.
Women to watch. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Kitty Boo in Shanghai. Advertising Age and Thoughtful China are bringing EdAge's Women to Watch event to China this year for the first time. We hope you'll join us in honoring 14 of the marketing industry's most promising female professionals at a gala dinner in Shanghai on September 5th. This week on Thoughtful China, we'll tell you a bit about each of the women selected this year. But first with us today is Ellen Wang, CEO and founder of Baby Tree, China's leading social media website for new parents and children. Ellen, welcome back to our show. Well, you were on the show before talking about Tiger Mom consumers and how the role of parenting is changing in China. Today, we're talking about women in workforce, and Baby Tree is co-presenting sponsor of Women to Watch in China. What drew you to this event?
As the largest parenting website in China, we feel a special obligation actually to provide the tools to ease up the parenting life for moms. And we also feel actually we have a dedication to making these moms actually successful at career places. So that's why actually we're very privileged to be co-presenting this award gala.
China is changing very fast. Do you see women nowadays choosing career over their family a lot more than say 10 or 20 years ago?
It's hard to say. I think actually both yes and no. I do feel that actually sort of watching parents who are actually exchanging ideas on Baby Tree that they are certainly a generation that born in the 1980s and some of them 1985 and after. So this generation of women are actually more career oriented than the last generation. On the other hand, I think workplace challenges are mounting. So for them, there's not less challenging, it's actually become more challenging.
So because the raising cost of raising children in China, are a lot more of them actually choose to stay home rather than hiring more sort of people looking after their baby or putting them in daycare in China now?
I think actually the cost of living actually in all Chinese tier cities actually are rising pretty rapidly. It is actually hard, I think, for a family to sustain their level of living prior and after a sort of a baby is delivered on the same level without actually both parents actually going to work. So if you want to actually have a healthy balance of living standard actually for your children, most of the women are still deciding actually going back to work at some point.
So a lot of people choose to do that, partially because financial pressure then?
Absolutely.
I see. And women are reaching CEO levels now, or very high-ranking sort of positions in companies or other organizations, particularly in China. Is that acceptable for Chinese men?
I think it is acceptable. The new China, quote unquote, has been founded actually on a principle of sort of a equality of gender. I think from a equality perception perspective and from the educational level perspective, I think more women are definitely capable of reaching actually or breaking through this, whatever the glass ceiling. On the other hand, I think actually the level of awareness for women to be returning to work and successful at work, there's so many things actually a company has to do to accommodate that, to nurture that. I think that level of awareness is still not there yet.
Well, I am actually a working mom myself. I have a daughter who's not even a year and a half old. And talking about the difficulties working women face when you have to take care of your family and also work,
right.
It's something I want to know more about actually. So from your website, when people talk about this issue,
right.
What are they complaining the most, or what do they find the most difficult?
A couple of things. One is that there's just lack of facilities at work to accommodate a balanced work and parenting style. For example, most of Chinese companies actually don't have a section where you can actually do nursing. And there's not awareness actually after, for example, lunch, you can go home actually do nursing for a couple of hours, which is allowed in Western societies. Mm-hmm. So those sort of a facility-based awareness is actually extremely lacking in the society still.
And there are some companies who allow women to get off early in the middle of the afternoon to pick up their kids from daycare. Is this kind of system, does this exist in China?
It exists to a much lesser degree actually than, for example, in the West. Some companies actually do allow parents to, even actually including fathers, to take off slightly earlier to actually follow their routine schedule. But most of the companies actually worry about losing actually work hours. Grueling, long hours seems to be the rule to build up this economy. So actually, I think when reality of economy faces with the parenting needs, many times actually parenting actually loses.
But somebody has to take care of the child. Who's doing that then?
Lots of times actually it's the grandparents. And when the grandparents are not available or not readily available, then some of the families use nannies. So this is truly a generation raised most often by grandparents and nannies than by parents, which is sad, I think.
Why do you think it's sad?
I think actually children need to be interacting more directly with both mom and father actually to grow up in a healthy way, in a balanced way. So when you don't have the layer of education interaction, I think actually things are just not happening in a natural way.
There is a lot of talk about weekend parents, which means a lot of parents don't see their children during the week because nanny or grandparents are taking care of them and they only get to do the parenting job on the weekends. What kind of advice would you give to this kind of people or this kind of families?
Weekend parenting is actually a phenomenon I think is pretty widespread. Even during the weekends when moms and fathers are available, they're probably more fatigued than during the weekdays to have the energy to interact with children. I would strongly recommend parents to find ways and find companies that accommodate a more balanced approach. I think on a higher level, I would actually encourage people to find a way to leverage parenthood. Motherhood can be a career weapon. For example, if your product targets 25 to 35-year women, then being a mother actually gives you the instinct to be a better marketer, better career person. So I think actually there are situations where you can find yourself in that are not going to be stretching your life to this degree.
So are there channels, for example, for your organization, your website, or for other women to appeal for more help from the society, from other employers to support, a domestic life of women nowadays?
Yeah, we've been discussing actually with a lot of headhunting companies, including some of the largest online websites that are specializing in matching, career women with companies that are more accommodating. This is something actually we've been trying for many years now, for a few years. And I think actually the perception is growing that not only parenthood is not a barrier, but very often actually when you're positioned right, it can be a career weapon, it can be an advantage. You have to raise the awareness, and also you have to really find jobs that give you the natural fit between who you are, what stage of life you're in, and sort of your career target.
Unfortunately, people my age, I'm born in the 80s, a lot of the people I know do see parenting as a barrier in their career. Therefore, I see a lot of people postponing their marriage, getting married and have children because they think that will take time away from their jobs. And they see that as a very big barrier because they feel like they will be lagging behind a lot of people who are just fighting on their own, for example, without a baby in the house. So do you see the kind of difficulties of bringing up kids in the current setup actually sort of stopping a lot of women from becoming parents?
It is true. I think the workplace challenges are really mounting. And I think actually if you really want to get ahead, one perception is you have to be exclusively focused on work and nothing else actually should be distracting you. I would argue actually this perception is probably wrong, and in many cases that's way wrong, because you really have to deal with what comes into our life in a very natural and healthy way. And sometimes actually things cannot be artificially delayed. For example, when the 80s, post-80s born women get to the age of 40, for example, and start to have a family, the energy level required to interact with a toddler is much lower than 10 years, a decade ago. So something can be postponed, others cannot be. When you're faced with the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of giving birth to a baby and raising him or her up in a healthy way, I would argue this is something actually you cannot sacrifice too much. On the other hand, as I said before, find things and find places, find companies actually that help you to actually position who you are and in what life stage you are as an advantage, not as a disadvantage. And I think there are many ways to do that.
So I understand as a mom that, when you have domestic difficulties in terms of who's going to look after my baby, what should be the setup in my family, you want to look outside your family. You want to see what other people are doing. You want to understand what they're doing to solve this problem. So therefore, I think there is a reason for the existence of your website, for example, where people can exchange ideas. However, how do Western women handle this?
That's a great question. Many women on Baby Tree, many young moms actually form very strong relationships. And prior to getting on the site, actually, they were strangers to each other. They were there because actually they feel they lack the peer support they need. They lack parenting information, most of all lack companionship. And internet is actually is a medium through which they have found relationships, they have found support. So I think this is not only true for parents in China, in the case of Baby Tree, it is also true for parents elsewhere. For example, if you look to the US, Facebook has been a great parenting forum for many young women actually in a similar situation versus their Chinese counterparts.
But is it harder to be Chinese parents or Western parents?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think in some aspects it's easier, in other aspects it's harder. The harder part, I would argue, is the corporate awareness of the parenting demand and pressure is not there in China versus their Western corporation counterparts. I would also argue actually women in China has a history, at least over a half century long, being treated at least as equal. So from an education perspective, from a qualification perspective actually, they're much more there than their Western counterparts.
One last question. In this world, it's not a must-do for women to have children. How do Baby Tree survive in a world where having a baby is optional?
Interesting. What we have found is actually when the educational level goes up, when career success is a demanding factor for women's kind of a pursuit, then the birth rate among those crowd actually genuinely go down. What we're trying to say to those women considering a choice, I would argue artificial choice between career and family, is that you can have both. And there are companies there, if you look carefully enough, that they are encouraging both. For example, some of the companies targeting, as I said, consumer package companies. Companies actually really want to get into the insights of women aged in the range of 25, 35, 40. They really treasure the instinct actually you gain by becoming a mom. So I would say, don't lose it. It is actually something you want to have, then have it, but then find a way to actually mingle your life with the career.
The 14 women who will be honored at this year's dinner were carefully selected by Advertising Age's editorial staff in China and New York, and it's an impressive group. Kathy Huang, president of China Bridge, helps Western companies retool their products for the Chinese market or dream up new ones. Christine Xu, VP of Marketing and Brand Strategy at McDonald's in China, is creating emotional links with the consumers during a period of aggressive growth. Dorcas Lau, VP of Digital Marketing and E-commerce for North Asia at Unilever, is delivering the company's expansion into digital and social media. Ilan Shou, China Managing Director and Senior VP, Ruderfin Public Relations, is teaching global luxury marketers how to communicate with Chinese shoppers. Jill Zhou, Vice President of Marketing, Communications and Corporate Citizenship for IBM's Greater China Group, helped the U.S. tech giant achieve double-digit revenue growth in China. Haiyan Wang is China's CMO and VP at Kraft Foods, which has mastered innovative product variations in China, such as double fruit Oreos. Marina Palma, Sparkling Director for Coca-Cola in China, is taking marketing to new heights for the beverage industry leader, spearheading an Olympic campaign that's resonated deeply with Chinese consumers. Mei Zi, Deputy General Manager at OMP, who brought 4A's experience to one of China's top local media agencies, is now helping foreign marketers like L'Oreal build brands online. Melissa Bell, Marketing Director at Volkswagen Group Import, is pushing boundaries in a car market where brand communication is often unimaginative and to the point. Rebecca Ip, Tiffany's VP Greater China, has helped redefine wedding jewelries for millions of young couples choosing platinum, silver, and diamonds instead of the traditional yellow gold. Sabrina Lee, a director at Art3, has become the secret weapon for holding companies like Publicis, hoping to acquire top local agencies. Serena Liu, president and founder of Filmworks China Entertainment Marketing, is connecting local companies like Yili and Meters Banwei with the producers of Hollywood blockbusters in global branded content deals. Sophia Ang, National Planning General Manager at Tencent, helps advertisers identify strategic opportunities to engage with the company's hundreds of millions of users. And Vivian Chen, China Marketing Director for H&M, has expanded the Swedish retailer's brand in 33 cities in just 5 years. You can read a profile about each of these women on adage.com. Well, Alan, you've heard the list now for the first time. I'd love to hear what you think of this group.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate all the 14 women who are honored today. The range of the corporate background they represent seems to be pretty wide, from computer manufacturers to software companies to internet companies to fast food restaurant chains. And many of these positions, I believe, are previously probably held by their male counterparts. So I think this is one vindication that women can have both a good family life and healthy, growing kids and extremely successful career path. In terms of actually their background and age range, I've heard actually many of them, as you said, actually have children from newborn to 6 years old, preschool. I think actually they have juggled both very successfully. And I also think actually the companies they represent probably are companies that really have a wide open attitude, welcoming people like that into their grade and giving them the opportunity to succeed.
I myself was born during the baby boom in China in the 80s, and I see now a new round of babies being born now. Everybody's pregnant. So I hope this new round of so many kids being born will push certain companies to change the way they operate, and then to help them go through certain sort of structural changes to help to equip families with some quality
I think
time.
economically, actually, it's too valuable to lose a generation of women who are, you know, in the prime of their career and having all the previous knowledge and just turning into a motherhood stage. I think this dragon year-driven baby boom will certainly help us to push the ceiling even higher.
Alan, thanks for being on Thoughtful China today. Advertising Age established its Women to Watch event in 1997, and several women based in Greater China have been honored over the years. We've invited a few of them into our studio over the past few weeks to tell us how the honor has influenced their careers and to offer advice for women starting out in media and marketing jobs today.
Hi, I don't really want to admit this, but I actually got this Women to Watch award like 13 years ago. But it's really one of my most, up to today, probably one of my most significant awards because I still always put it in my resume. The reason is because I got this award when I was still relatively young, climbing the ladder in my career, and it was my first kind of major award that I won. I think gave me a lot of confidence, and that just a lot of, you know, it's very difficult, I think, to be recognized when you are not already the CEO. The most significant the significance of Women to Watch was that it is not just a local award, because Ad Age is a global magazine. So it was kind of a global recognition. So for it to come to China is very significant in that it recognizes now China people in this industry is not just a local thing, as it puts China in the center stage. It put advertising people in China in the global center stage. I think that is very significant and is a very big recognition and achievement if anybody gets it here.
I think, first of all, I think being honored really means responsibility in a way. You know, I think you realize that that you've been selected and you've been nominated by your peers, by your company, and with that you hold a lot of responsibility, and there are certain standards. I think it changed my view in the way in terms of saying, okay, well, you know what, there's certain standards now that you need to live up to, which I think are really important. because being the fact that you're a woman to watch means now you're being watched. I think the other area is that you start to realize that you have a responsibility also to give back and be able to mentor new women who come up the ranks, and the new generation, and how do you help and coach and advise and train them and help them find their path. And that's really been actually in the last few years the most exciting part of my career, is really helping others.
Being named a Woman to Watch by Ad Age was a wonderful recognition. And I remember to this day the award ceremony in New York, meeting and talking to the other women and hearing their stories. It was very wonderfully inspirational experience. The advice I'd give to women starting out in marketing and advertising in China is the exact same advice I'd give to women all over the world in the same industries. And I think the key point is to come to work with passion. Come to work with a hunger for learning and a hunger for adding value and a passion for the job. The next point would be about exceeding expectation. Not just meeting it, but exceeding it. And you exceed expectation when you go outside of your comfort zone and you really push yourself. Another key point is about humility. Some of the people that I admire the most in the industry are the most humble. And it's a very endearing quality, and it's a beautiful quality in a leader, and something that we should see more of. Another very important point is that women should not necessarily strive to be just like a man. We're different, and our styles are different. So we shouldn't necessarily emulate a male management style. We should, and nor should we emulate anybody's style. Just be yourself, and be yourself with a bit of a twist, and let your particular personality shine through. It's really, really important. And I think the last point would be about the fact that in the course of your career, you're going to come across difficult people and difficult situations. And rather than fall into the trap of becoming difficult too, try not to do that. Try to remain a nice person, even during the most difficult and trying times, and that will set you apart.
Well, having lived and worked in China for almost 20 years, I have to say that I think women in China have incredible opportunity. Mao Zedong said that women hold up half the sky, and I think in China that's absolutely true. The glass ceiling is almost a myth, I would say, these days. Women have opportunities to achieve just about anything I think we put our minds to. And in China, I think that having the Women to Watch Awards launching here now is going to be a fantastic opportunity for young working women as they rise higher and higher in the working advertising and marketing fields in China. I would say that it's an incredible time to be a woman in marketing and advertising in China. The opportunities, the change, the exciting projects to work on, and just incredible optimism and positivity that there is for marketing in China is an incredible chance right now. So I would say best of luck, and I'm jealous. I wish I was starting out again right now.
Please join us at the gala dinner on September 5th to honor our 14 women to watch. Further information is available now on adage.com and thoughtfulchina.com. That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Tudo and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo and Twitter and join our LinkedIn group. See you again.
The super rich aren't the only ones buying luxury goods in China. Find out the truth at Market to Watch Building Brands Beyond Tier 1 in China on September 5th in Shanghai.